ourselves, or are we with everyone else?
We are live.
So
cool.
I
think we may have gotten rid of the echo.
Are we
Are we
getting any
feedback?
feedback? How's the chat?
Now, the only thing
It
is,
said there's
right
still
now,
an
I'm not
echo?
looking at our page. I'm just on Zoom, and I don't see anyone else except for myself. So I don't see Michelle. But, I mean, I remember what you look like, so maybe that's fine. But, oh, there you are.
Okay.
I don't hear any. Okay,
So
Are we live?
we are
we are
live.
live.
Oh, lovely.
And
And
we're having technical difficulties.
And I know you guys were preparing for days for this, so it's not for lack of preparation. Well, so
Let me just, I want to just make sure I'm not echoing.
okay. Should I go back into our channel or no? So it's not
I'll
for
try
lack
it.
of preparation.
It's not for lack of preparation.
Well, so
Let me just, I want to just make sure I'm not echoing.
Okay. Should I go back into our channel or no? So it's not for lack of preparation. It's not for lack of preparation. Well, so
Let me just, I want to just make sure, I'm not echoing.
Okay. Should I go back into our channel or no? So
Why don't you X out of our channel? Let's see what happens.
Okay. Is that any better?
Who are you talking to?
Debbie. Okay.
Okay.
Do we
Do we
still have echo now? Rachel? Still have echo.
You can't go back down.
Do
Oh, you hear the echo.
we?
Okay,
Okay,
we're looking for the source of the echo. I guess it's not enough to have one of me. Now there are more than one.
We just can't get enough of you, Michelle. Are people still hearing you echo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I do want to say, if they can hear us, maybe they'll just hear us say it over and over again, that we're really happy that they joined us and really appreciative. Awkward.
I think crickets. How bad is it, Rachel? Is it like really bad? Okay. So I'm gonna talk and while they're working on it. So let's just kind of go with the show. If it's really bad, then we may have to sign out and then sign back in again. But anyway, let's just start.
It might not be a bad idea because we've had Zoom open for so long, because we just kept it open after our sound check. What if you and I logged off and then came back on? It might fix the problem.
I don't think it's Zoom. So, because the sound isn't coming from Zoom. Right, Adam?
But it's got to be, because how else would it be getting my sound? We could do a show in sign language. Do you know sign language?
No.
The only thing I know is go to the bathroom.
Is that going to the bathroom?
Yeah, toilet. I think that's toilet. I think so.
It doesn't look like toilet to me.
I don't want to do the wrong thing, or people are gonna get insulted.
Anyway.
Let's try redoing
But we could do I.
Okay.
Love you, love you. Okay, we're gonna sign out of Zoom. So everybody, please be patient. We'll get this right. We've got lots of fun stuff. Okay.
All right, so now I just have to go to.
Should I start Zoom?
Yeah. I don't know. No, the one I'm in is test. That's not the right one. This one. Launch meeting. Everything was working perfect.
I know.
But I did learn one thing. Join. Mute. Okay. Did you start?
Okay.
Oh. We need you to add.
Yeah, jump on. Okay.
And should we stay off of our channel?
Yeah.
For now.
Are you hearing an echo still, Rachel?
Yeah.
Still
an
an
echo.
The only thing I can think of.
Test. Can you hear me, Debbie?
I can hear you.
Okay. No echo? Okay.
Are we good?
Okay.
Doesn't this feel like a party? Like we're having a party and everyone's here with us? I really wish we could hear everyone talk. Like that would be fun too.
Well, we have an amazing chat room. So let's take it from the top. Ready? Welcome to Psichicks Talk Show. I'm Michelle.
I'm Deborah. Hi. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to spend this time with you. And yeah, it feels like a party or kind of like New Year's Eve, doesn't it? Like there's just, it's like a whole new year and era. And I know people are all anxious about what's going to happen. But when I was in the shower getting ready, I was thinking like, wow, I thought on election night I would feel depressed, but I actually feel so excited. And I'm sure it's mostly because we're here together, but also, we're, no matter what happens, no matter how bad it gets, how good it gets, we have each other and we'll make it through no matter what happens.
Yeah, I like that. That's nice. Yeah. We're all one.
Yeah, I know people like I'm here at my mother's house in Las Vegas, and I was talking with my brother, and he's all anxious about what's going to be happening and everything. But, I always just think to, other countries, people in other places, like they're struggling, they're suffering, and they still, get through things, and we're way better prepared than, so many other situations in the history of humanity when things, went wrong. If not saying that they are going to go wrong, but, I'm just like, okay, because it doesn't help to just say, oh, like everything's going to be great, even though, I kind of think it's not going to be as bad as people think it's going to be, no matter what. But just saying, regardless, we'll just say we're going to get through this together. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And I just want to make it clear to everybody listening that we're nonpartisan. So we are not here to pick a side or anything like that. Our purpose of the show today is really to go over our predictions that we made using remote viewing, and which is on brand for, you know, the future of what we intend to do with this show, is just kind of just be ourselves, as we can't be anyone else. And also just kind of explore how we're all we have our own superpowers and we're superhumans and all that stuff. And it's really exciting, uh, you know, just in our prep meetings and talking about the different topics that we want to talk about down the line. I don't think there's any show out there that will be talking about some of the things that we have been discussing. So I think our plan is to be a very unique show, and very interactive. So we want to hear from you in the chat. We're not used to everything. We don't know where to look and where the microphones are yet, but you know, we'll get used to it. I think it's a learning curve, but I think for a lot of years we've held off in doing this show, and we just kind of bit the bullet and decided to be brave and put ourselves out there, and here we are.
Yeah, we literally have been planning this for at least 7 years. When I went back into our website, that's when we first started to work on it. And this is just such an example of how important timing is. You know, when we first started, we didn't really have that much knowledge or resources. You know, that was like right before your whole career as a publicist really launched, and you've done so many podcasts for people. You've been so involved in media and producing radio shows. And so it's just amazing what you've accomplished over the last 7 years. Because do you remember what I said when we first started to talk about this? Do you remember what I said?
Yeah, I remember you said that you wanted to get a nudist on the show to interview.
I forgot about that. I still do. I totally would love to talk to some nudists, because I really want to understand how people can just be comfortable enough in their bodies to, you know, go bowling when they're nude or go grocery shopping. And so I still want to do that. And
I'm
also, I
blushing
think I've
just
told you,
thinking about it.
well, and you know, I'm obsessed with watching documentaries on cults. And did I tell you about the cult in Oregon? Because I'm living in Oregon now, and there was a cult here in the 80s. And there's a great documentary called Wild Wild Country. It's about Osho and his followers, and they would get together and have these massive sex parties and be naked everywhere. And this is a really crazy story. I couldn't believe it. They actually, like, the people in Oregon, of course, were not happy to have all these people descend on them, and they had this big fight going on, and this cult ended up poisoning the entire population of Antelope, Oregon. So I would love to talk about things like that, and just, you know, people that are living different than us, you know, there. And so we are going to talk about psychic topics for sure, because, you know, you and I and so many of the people tuning in, probably all of them are totally obsessed with psychic stuff and psychic abilities and remote viewing and everything like that. So that is going to be always a part of what we talk about, but I don't want to be limited in what we talk about. You know, and that's why we're even here for the election night, you know, because even though we're not political, it's like, this is a big deal. This is going to determine what happens, not just for us in the US, but for the whole world. And, you know, again, it's like we want to be plugged into current events. So, Michelle, do you want to talk about our history of making predictions and all of that? Should we just jump right into that?
Yeah, I would love, I mean, let's talk about our road to this day. Could you give a little history about what prompted us to work with the presidents?
Yeah, well, gosh, well, I think this is really our third presidential election that we've done predictions for, and not just us, it's where we get together groups of remote viewers and clairvoyance, and we give them a tasking, and we've set it up in different ways, but we don't tell them that what they're going to be tuning into is the future presidential election. We set it up where they don't know, they're blind to what the actual goal is, but we've set our projects up differently each time with different groups of viewers. But still, this is our third one. So we started off when Obama and
Mitt
Mitt
Romney.
Romney were,
our
they were
first
running
knockdown
against each
drag out
other.
fight. That was fun.
Oh my gosh. Yes, and you know, I still talk about that big, not fight, but debate judging session we had, because we
You're
learned
just
so
being
much from.
nice.
No, really. You know, we thought the other one was just so stupid, right? Because I was so just enamored with Obama, and you liked Romney, and we would
No, I
have.
didn't like Romney. I didn't like either of them. So I was
Oh,
trying to keep
okay.
everything neutral.
Yeah,
Uh-oh,
but
we're gonna start again.
remember. Well, you know, part of the problem was that people would use these terms that are really subjective, and that's where I learned like how many terms like are not, you don't just immediately, you're not immediately able to say, yes, this applies to this person or that person. Like the example of the dark skin person, like, you know, depending on who's saying dark skin, is it Obama or is it Romney? Because Romney's tanner, Obama's lighter skin. Tall, you know, a person who's 4'2" is going to think someone who's 5'5" is tall, you know, compared to someone who is 5'8" is maybe not going to think someone who's 6 feet that is that tall, right? So it's really relative to the person describing it. And then we are only exposed to the social vision of the person. We do not get to know so much about people, but we're only seeing their public personas. So there's so much we don't know that we had to guess. And remember, even things that we were positive, like with Obama, where we were sure that Obama had a certain number of brothers and sisters, but then like one person said, because we had about like what 12 viewers or so, and a couple viewers said like, this candidate has like 7 or 8 brothers or sisters. And so we were counting, we were online, and there was debate online about how many brothers and sisters Obama had. Like we never, because does that include half brothers and things like that? So yeah, and then we just realized that really if we have to like spend an hour on one item, then we should just go right to unknown, you know, have that as a category. So there was a lot of gray area basically. So we learned so much from that.
We did, and we were correct. Our predictions were great. We hit it on that one, right?
Yeah, that was good. And then for our next one, we decided to go with associative remote viewing, and which is where probably a lot of people know what that is, but basically each choice, the viewers aren't tuning into the direct choices, because one thing we found out too was that you know, you would think like, okay, Obama, a black man, Romney, a white guy, Mormon, you would think like they're different, but we realize like they're not really very different, right? They're both well-to-do, they live in nice houses, they're communicators. So the candidates really aren't that different from each other, and we couldn't always tell who the viewers were describing. So 4 years later, fast forward to the Clinton and it was Clinton and Trump. So we did associative remote viewing. So instead of looking directly at the candidates, we paired photos with each candidate. And one was a photo of the Chicago bean statue. It looks like a giant bean. And the other photo was, what was the other? Oh, it was the broken plates.
It was like a chandelier of broken plates. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the broken plates were associated with Trump, and then the Chicago bean statue was associated with Hillary Clinton. And so then we had, gosh, I think we had about 30 viewers, and they just were told they were going to see a feedback photo. So our plan was that they would see the feedback photo that was connected to the winning outcome. So we knew that whoever won would generate the correct picture. So we wanted to see, did their beforehand to make the prediction, does their sessions actually comply to the bean picture or to the plates picture, and that will give us the prediction. And as it turned out, it really seemed like almost everything unanimously was going to either to Clinton, or we had a third party choice, but not to Trump. Like there was only like one strong one to Trump, which was an amazing session. John Vivanco's, he totally had like plates clinging and breaking together. It was an amazing session. And so we were like, wow, his is pointing to Trump, but everyone else is not to Trump. And we know what happened. You know, it turned out not to be, our prediction failed, and sometimes that happens. So fast forward, and Michelle, I know you have some clips. Do any of the clips you have conform to
Wait, before you go on, we had something that we were leaning towards going to Trump because that session was so strong and he was so close. And do you remember what happened when you we pulled up the next session? Want to tell? Remember?
Yeah.
Blue?
Yeah.
And this is what changed our trajectory pretty much.
Yeah, well, one of our good friends, Nancy, I'll just say her name is Nancy S. So she always has PK stuff happening, by the way, around her sessions. So we pulled up hers to start judging. And initially, just looking at her transcript, it looked like it could apply to both. And I got like rather animated and frustrated. And I was like, gosh, you know, why are we even doing associative remote viewing? Because too often it's either it is going to both, or it'll go to the wrong one. There'll be displacement. And I was just like, you know, darn, we just did all this work. And here we have another session where, you know, getting characteristics of both. And I was just ready to give up. And I just pretty much like yelled at the computer screen, and then something changed. Like it was a normal transcript on the screen share, and suddenly it went to blue. It was like this pixelated, it looked like this kind of computer kind of stuff you would see like in the DOS days, but there was all this blue, and the blue highlighted it. The blue made pictures, and the pictures look very similar to one of the transcripts. Like it was a great match for one of the transcripts. So I was just like, oh my God, are you seeing this? And Michelle wasn't seeing it. So I took screenshots. And then thankfully, like it's too bad I could have pulled those up if I had thought about it, but we took screenshots, we have the evidence, but then it just changed back to normal. So from that did sway us more so in the direction of Clinton's, because it was more for the bean at that point. It was like really clearly for that. It turned out to be more of what my choice was at the time. And the thing was, with each of these predictions, we will afterwards poll the viewers on their preference, because we do have a theory that perhaps the viewers are not tuning into the actual outcome or picture associated with the outcome for that last one. Well, my choice was at the time, and maybe they are tuning into the preferences with each of these predictions that they have their own preferences. Afterwards, or even they could be tuning into the group prediction. So it really gets wobbly, because now we're talking about time loops, because they're sending their attention into the future in order to be able to there's like a link between where they are when they're doing the session and then what's happening in the future. And it could be impacted by these other steps in between, which would be both the judging phase when we get together and do it, and also the prediction phase. So those phases shouldn't like have a retroactive effect, but they do that that does occasionally seem to happen. We can't say for sure, but
Right.
sometimes. I hope we're not getting too complex either, but we might be. Should we fast forward to the present election? Because I know we have a guest today too.
Yeah, I would love to. So just recently, I think about 2 months ago, we decided, let's do it again. And so we decided to, and then we just set up we set up the tasking. What was the official tasking? It was who will be the 47th president, right? I
Yes,
think
well,
that's what.
we debated at first because I kind of wanted to also tie it into a location, because that way we would have some evidence that the viewers were actually tuned into the right target. So I wanted to first have it be like the inauguration, because if something happens like tonight where they're not sure who the winner is, or it's contested or something like that, like there might be some false announcements, but possibly, and we weren't getting that, but I mean, that's just a reality. So I thought if we wait until looking to see who actually gives the inaugural address, that will help us to know, like, for sure that's who's going to be the president. So I did a preliminary test with some of my students, but there was only really one that was conclusive with that. So then I talked to you, Michelle, and said, okay, let's go with what you wanted to do all along, was just do a straight tasking. And now the tasking secret, right? It's not like we're not telling them what this is. It's just what we write on our piece of paper. And so the undisclosed tasking or objective was describe who is going to be the next president.
And I really, really want to thank everybody for participating, everyone that did. It was a lot of fun to look at your sessions. Why don't we should pull up, I'm going to ask the producer, I'm turning my head this way, ask the producer to pull up the clip. This is so professional. Pull up the clip that shows our Excel sheet. And this is going to show us our prediction that we made, which is kind of funny. It has some humor in it, but let's see. Is it popped up? I'm not seeing it on the screen yet. Oh,
Can I look at it?
Okay.
Do you think it'll cause a problem if I look at it too?
No, go ahead. Okay. Oh, it just showed. Okay, there's like a little delay. So let me know if you see it yet.
And do we have someone monitoring our chat?
Yes, we do. I'm monitoring, and our friend Rachel.
Oh, cool.
Are you seeing it yet?
No, I don't have the link in here, so it might take me a little bit.
Okay. All right. I know it's small. We should have made it a little bigger. So I guess, and then Deborah, you can go into, the details of it.
Oh, okay. So are we not showing the clip?
Yeah, it's up on the screen. Are you on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, I don't see it up there. It's not playing.
Okay. Does everybody out there see it?
I just keep seeing like where it's talking about Andy Kim victory speech, but that was playing before.
Maybe hit refresh.
And will there be audio with it?
No, this is just the chart that we made, the
Oh,
Excel sheet.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. So you know what? I'll just pull it up on my computer here.
Okay.
So I thought you were playing a video. Sorry
No.
about that. Okay, so just let me see here. Where is it? Oh, I think it was in my numbers program. All right, so Michelle, because what were you thinking? Like right now, should we just give a synopsis?
Basically, so what we came up with is 5 we're pointing to Trump, and 6 were Harris, and 14 were angels or aliens. And what we want to do is talk to some of those people that were pointing to angels and aliens and kind of break down their sessions. And ask them what's going on, because like afterwards we like to kind of go through everything after we find out who or what the outcome is of the election. So what I would like to do first is pull up, as Deborah was talking about, pulling up the first clip, which we call Trump in the Teacup. So we're going to step aside for 1 minute and let you kind of watch us in real time, well, not real time, but in action while we were judging. We had a guest judge with us, Carl, and he joined us. And so let's let it rip. Trump in the teacup.
You're so smart.
Thank you.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so page 7, or let's see, he's upside down. We also have Danny here, it looks like.
Yeah, we're good with that.
We can say hi to her. And just looking for anything new here.
Happy, sleepy, sad.
It seems like just still getting the same things. Unhappy, alone, serious, writing, questioning, and annoyed, been there, done that. Been there, done that. He was president before.
Yeah.
Knows the ride, isn't scared of it. Clothes are too tight. Little boy, scruffy, dirty, unkept, crew cut, tan, clothes too tight. In the past, like 70s, maybe 80s. Knows the ride, isn't scared of it. Familiarity. He was a comic book figure.
You know, it's interesting. It's like the ride. It's like the whole election, like the debate. That's like you're on a ride. You know, that's a metaphor, maybe.
Yeah. And the Disneyland reference. Michelle? Happy, chaotic. I don't think atmosphere. Was reminded of a daycare. Michelle, that's actually a good analogy for
Maybe that's how you feel.
Can't see the beginning or end, a little bit stiff. What else do I find interesting? Okay, here's her summary. Let's turn it around. I had 3 very different scans. So in one way it was easy.
Can I just ask something, please, ladies? When was these sessions done? A few days ago?
No.
On September 8th. So yeah, maybe about 6 weeks ago. That's a very good question. Any more thoughts on that?
You know the teacup earlier, and the teacup and saucer, like the Disney ride. Well, there's it's plastered all over the British newspapers of Trump being infamous for saying it was just a storm in a teacup, and the British Labour Party is weathering Trump's storming in a teacup. Just thought I'd mention that.
Wow.
That is very interesting. Okay, so party will weather, Labour Party will weather storm, Trump's storm in a teacup.
but I don't really understand what that means.
Can you hear me?
What does that mean?
The phrase or the story?
The phrase.
A storm in a teacup means it's nothing. Like if somebody's saying it's a big deal, normally you say, it's just a storm in a teacup. You're making a mountain out of a molehill, that type of thing.
Oh, okay. That's so cool that you guys have phrases that are so common over there that we've never heard of before. And then what's this picture like? Is that's supposed to be Trump, but like what's that's
Well, right, what you've got, it looks like Sir Keith Starmer, the British Prime Minister of the Labour Party, is putting up his vote for Kamala, and it's really upset Trump, who's sort of kicking off about it with the British government getting involved.
and what's with his legs? That looks like a butt. Look how it's drawn.
Yeah, that's I don't know. Have they got any gold like or?
You're supposed to ignore that part. We'll have to blur it.
Oh, because he's a puppet, he's on a hand. See the
There
shadow?
we go, it's a hat. Thank God you figured that out. That's
So
scary for a kid.
He's a puppet on someone's hand.
Say so.
Thank you.
A finger puppet.
Okay.
A puppet. It's a puppet.
A puppet.
A puppet. A finger puppet.
Finger puppet.
Like somebody's fingers up his.
Sorry, Carl. We love your accent.
Okay. So that was like really fascinating. I think I wrote in the chat that it was miraculous that Carl just got, pinged that and remembered this article in the paper, which lined up perfectly to what we were talking about, the teacups, the sketches of the teacups. And what did you think, Debbie?
Yeah, well, I did not see that clip. So, but yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Like when that's an example when you first see a reference to something that sometimes it's like, teacup, wow, this is really super off. But then that did make a lot of sense. But at the same time, don't you think that we kind of need to pose the question, like, is it possible that the viewers got that because out in the future, Carl would find that and then we'd be talking about it and laughing about it and showing it. And so we created something for them to tune into that otherwise they wouldn't have. And if that's the case, maybe it wasn't because Trump is going to win, but just because we created that. It's kind of like if you're looking for correspondence or verification, you might sometimes be able to find anything. So I was a little worried about that. However, Carl had that's such a common phrase for him. The teacup. What is it again? What's the phrase exactly? Someone
Trump in the teacup or something. I think it was Trump.
No, but this is a common phrase in the UK, like something, like a tornado in a teacup. That's a common
right.
phrase.
Yeah.
And so, they were saying something like Trump in a teacup.
Storm in a teacup. Storm. Yeah. Lucas, thank you. Yeah. And then, but they also had Disney in that session too, which was interesting.
Yeah, that was actually the one session that was most for Trump because they had Disney, they had a guy who was swinging what totally looked like a golf club. The analytic overlay that the viewer had, or potential analytic overlay, was like another kind of sport where you hold a stick, like they called it something else. And keep in mind, everybody, that again, these viewers, like, they could have thought they were looking at a location. They could have thought they were looking at anything. They weren't told like the target's a person. They were just given a target number. So to have a guy swinging what looks like a golf club, that was the image. And Florida, which is so much in the news with Trump, and where he's lived for a long time. And there were other references in that one too. So that was our only one, I would say, out of all the transcripts that really strongly pointed to him. Now, we did have another one that we kind of, you actually voted that it applied to Trump. Carl and I were kind of on the fence, leaning towards Kamala. So, yeah. Do you want to talk about that one at all?
Yeah, I think we should play the clip.
Okay.
All right, let's cue up the clip, the red, clip, the red balls.
Okay. Fresh, sweet, lapping, gentle, moving, cement, swirling, people talking, sea salt, cold,
it's
cloudy,
cool to have our own producer.
Water, or large body, chlorine, soft, watery, water, high mountainous rocks, cliffs, musty smell, slick, shiny, dark in smell, pond water, fleshy, medium dense, muscular, beaver, beaver, muscular, furry, round, soft, natural animal. Flowing, sky above, rock below, rushing to the sea, wet, AOL. Wrong. Michelle wouldn't lead with those ideas if it was water. Secret skill, petrified, river, water, frown, water flowing, bubbles dipping, builder, homemade animals, slick, fat, sleek, heavy, dense, busy, strong, bobbing, red balls.
Wait, builder, homemaker. What does that say? Slick, and then fat, and then sleek, heavy, dense.
Heavy, maybe he was describing Trump and thinking he was describing a beaver. Builder, home.
That's what I'm thinking.
Because it said homemaker, animal, slick, fat, sleek, heavy, dense, busy, strong, determined. Bobbing red balls. Sounds like Trump. I think this one's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Trump in the hot tub.
The beaver. Oh, oh my. There are no words. Oh my God. Oh my God.
What do you think? All right. I don't think they
had. Let's see what they had. Nothing. They had nothing.
Okay.
There's absolutely no way.
I know. Those last qualities, though, no, like you can't ignore those because
I know, I'm just saying, I'm not looking that up online, okay?
take away
I
the
will look up the color of his eyes, but that's where it ends.
builder. He builds buildings, right? Like Trump Tower, and he builds things. Slick, fat, sleek. He's not very sleek, but heavy, dense, busy, determined. Red balls. Don't know about those, but I mean, supposedly he's got some in some state
Oh my God.
of being.
Don't make it worse.
So, I
What
mean,
comes after this?
okay, so you don't think anything applies?
I do, but I want to move to the next page.
That's all there is. Oh, no, there's more, sorry. Oh, we have a very nice drawing. Let me download this.
Wow. Totally didn't expect that.
That's the whole sketch there. Okay.
Look at the whole thing.
Okay, and then, because
Did you find anything out, Deborah, about the beaver and Trump?
oh, there's some people that did funny pictures of combining the two together. But we won't we won't go there.
There's a children's book on Amazon, Donald the Beaver, about Donald Trump's wall.
Oh no, that's funny. Let's just look up that children's book on Trump and the beaver. Donald the Beaver builds a beautiful wall.
That's it.
He gets everything he wanted. Does that make him happy? A children's story about Donald Trump's wall.
Interesting.
I'm gonna say neither, but you could do what you want.
The same. I would have max 60-40 for Trump, but I wouldn't go with that. It's too close. So for me, it's a pass.
Okay. And Michelle, how confident are you with your?
I would go with 60, definitely. I mean, it's low, but I definitely feel like it needs to be said. And I would note that we found that book just to support my opinion.
Hi, guys. We're back. Yeah, it wasn't really, somebody wrote PG-13. No, I guess it wasn't really PG-13.
So that was our very professional job of judging those sessions there. And why don't we change gears right now, because we have our very special guest. And Michelle, would you like to do introductions?
Sure, I would. So we are really excited on our first show to have Danny Caputi on. And let's see, I'm reading my notes here. She's an atmospheric scientist and consciousness researcher from San Francisco Bay, and does a lot of work in consciousness research and things like that. And today, we wanted to bring her on because she did a different kind of perspective with making a prediction about the election and also using a random number generator. So I'm really excited to hear her results and how she put together this project. Welcome, 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 Danny.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Yeah, so what would you like me to discuss? Do you want me to just go over the, what I prepared?
Yeah, maybe you could start with your methods.
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, what an exciting night. We have like one of the closest elections in our lifetime. You guys with this remote viewing thing. I know Brian was putting together like a formal field REG prediction, random event generator. And then I'm in here doing this experimental method. So I guess I'll give a little background on this. Back in 2019, I finished up as a grad student, and because that was kind of everybody's advice in this field is get your PhD, then you can tinker with the consciousness research, right? Once you get your PhD in like a mainstream field. And so so that's what I did. And then after that, I teamed up with this local Bay Area inventor who we built together some applications using random number generators. So should I go into do you think your audience knows what that is, or should I explain?
Oh yeah, we have the smartest audience ever.
But I think it would be great to explain what it is, because I see we have a couple people who may not know.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So basically, quick little physics lesson here. Let's say I throw a ball at the glass behind me, the glass is going to break in what seems like random different segments, right? But the idea is that, if it's a classical system, you can, in theory, model the exact trajectory of what hits the glass and exactly, how all the molecules are arranged. If you had a powerful enough computer, you could accurately predict, exactly how the glass is going to break apart. So that's the classical world. Now, when we go to things that are smaller than atoms, so that's protons, neutrons, electrons, quarks, things do not behave in that same way. Things behave according to the uncertainty principle, right? So a lot of people might have heard of Schrodinger's cat, like the cat is dead and alive. That kind of shows the absurdity of what's going on, that, at that level, it's not that, you just don't know whether something, here's a good prop 2 analogy, right? If I roll this die and I don't look at what it is, I don't know what it is, but I know it's something. I know it's either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. I just don't know that. Okay, now I look, it's 2. But the act of looking at it didn't change it, right? So imagine now you have like a quantum system or a particle like where you get an upspin or a downspin, for instance, and you're not looking at it. It's not that it's one of them, but you don't know what it is. It's that it's actually both at once. And then the very act of observing it turns it into one of those states. So a lot of the early physicists were, interested in this from, what does observation have to do with it? Consciousness being this big mystery. The hard problem of consciousness is basically, how is it that something inside of our heads, that looks very mechanical, how do you get this inner movie of this inner subjective experience? And so it seemed that, some of the early physicists posited that there's this connection between consciousness and the physical world that, lies in this wave function collapse. And that's really, if you fast forward to, I think it was the 80s, 90s, Deborah can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that's when Pear started doing their random number generator experiments. Is that right?
Sometime around that, the early 80s.
Yeah. So basically, they would take meditators, put them in a room, and have you look at a line on a screen. And, if the line goes up, that means, it's producing more ones than zeros. If the line goes down, it's producing more zeros than ones. And so what they would do is they would say, putting the meditator in the room, they would say, try to subtly influence the direction of the output, right? So computer bits are just zeros and ones for those who don't know. So that's all this device is outputting. And over many, many trials, thousands, I think, and hundreds of participants, they get a statistically significant effect, showing that there does seem to be this interaction between consciousness and the physical world that lives in this wave function collapse, because this is a random number generator using different quantum phenomena. Electron tunneling is the common one. So that's generating those bits, and that's showing its small but pretty repeatable effect size. And then they expanded this to the Global Consciousness Project, installing a network of those around the globe. I'm sure that's a whole nother topic. I'll let you guys talk about that some other time. But the direction me and this inventor took this in was that, we were looking at ways to increase the size of the effect. And so one way we could do that is, instead of looking at a line on a screen, you're looking at colors, something very visual, right? And so one of the first things that actually my former business partner that I'm discussing, he built a version of this, but I'll show what I made here. This is, unfortunately, the colors aren't coming through so well, but should have probably checked that before. But basically what that is you have a whole bunch of lights. I'll see if maybe I can get a picture on the screen for later, but basically you get the lights, and each of them is controlled by a different stream of bits, right? And so it's independent. So normally you'd expect the colors to be all different, right? And to kind of look ugly, like a mess, like, a kid just coloring things with all crayons, right? But as, people meditate around it, we tend to see that the effect size, or the coherence of the colors tend to sync up. And so that's something we can test. And, the reason we want the visual system is because it's not just because it makes it look pretty, it's that, the scientific reason behind that is that, it could theoretically create this feedback loop where you're looking at it and then it responds by becoming more pretty when it's more coherent, and then you're more focused on it, and then it becomes more coherent, and this positive feedback cycle. That's basically what we're testing with that installation there with the lights. Now I'm going to connect this to the election in a minute, but let me pause there because that was a lot. Are there any questions up till now?
Yeah, that was an excellent description. And does anyone have any questions in the chat for her?
It's very impressive, definitely. And I don't know if this is related or even kind of like what you talk about or anything, but what about, like, those are the frequencies of colors that we can see. What about the ones that we can't see? Is that kind of something that plays into any of this at all?
Well, the design of the lamp is that you can, it's selecting colors you can see, right? And they're just LEDs, so it's really just emitting light within the visible spectrum. I'm not sure. Can you expand on what you mean by colors you can't see?
Well, like there's, I mean, there are a lot of colors that are out there that we don't acknowledge. I think there was like a long time ago, like, I don't even have my facts straight with this, but something to the effect, and anybody out there can help me with this. But I know that when who wrote the Odyssey? The Odyssey?
That's coming.
The You know what I'm talking about? So at that time, around that time, they never knew of the color blue or something like that. What? Homer. Thank you. Yeah. So they talked about, like, there was no reference or anything about the color blue. And so I just wonder if that plays into this, but it sounds to me like for your did you want to say something?
Yeah, that's a whole different topic. It sounds to me, let me know if this is correct, that you've created, instead of looking at the graph with the graph going up and down, as someone's just like looking at the program and the random number generator is running, instead of the graph, there's colors, and you've pre-programmed the colors, and the colors are going to get more and more vivid as there's more coherence, as there's less randomness. So it really doesn't need to be like a huge amount of colors. It's more about, like, it's like the reward, like, oh, look, this is bright, this is pretty. And if we get excited and we get really interested and we get encouraged, then we might have a psychokinetic effect. Is that pretty much the...
Yep. Yeah, that's a good summary.
Okay. So Michelle, what you're talking about, there's so many things within the colors within the spectrum we can't see. I'd love to talk about that. I think that's a slightly different topic. So if we move to, how did you apply that to the presidential prediction?
Yeah. Okay. So basically in, one of the things that, me and Leo Madrid, that was my business partner at the time, and we, worked together on some projects. And one of them was the X Prize $500,000 pandemic response challenge, which was sponsored by Cognizant. And it was basically a challenge to see if we can make machine learning algorithms to predict COVID cases. And the freedom was, it was very open-ended in terms of how you did it, right? It just basically, you had to have some model that predicted COVID cases. And so we put together, we did this sort of iterative design method where we came up with this algorithm called coherent sampling. Now, the exact details of coherent sampling are a little bit complicated, but you can think of the underlying principle sort of as this. You have the random number generator running, and then when it's in coherence, so it's just kind of running in the background, but when it's in coherence, that's when it makes the prediction, right? So it's not like we're just running a stream and saying, okay, we're just going to say, if it's more ones than zeros, that's Trump, and then more zeros than ones, that's Kamala, right? It's not like an arbitrary thing like that, where specifically you can think of it as, you get into like a meditative state, and then when you have that coherence as detection, that's when you roll the dice and make the prediction. So I didn't want to just make one prediction for the whole election, because that would be, I'm sorry, I'm talking about COVID cases first. So basically, this is what we did to predict COVID cases in a very broad sense.
What do you mean? I don't quite understand, like, what were you predicting, like the outcome, if they were going to get better or not, or if it was COVID or not?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I should, number of COVID cases per country, 7-day average. So no, it's just the quantity. It's just predicting, will it be, we run a standard machine learning model, and then we nudge it up or down based on the random number generator output, but not in an arbitrary way.
The prediction would be, is it going to go up compared to where it was, or is it going to go down? Was it binary for the COVID?
It would be, I think it was based on a z-score. So it would normalize and say, like, if the z-score is like between -2 and +2, that corresponds to plus or minus 10% or something like that. So in that case, it was, but there's other things that could be binary, like election outcomes, right? So basically that's what we did for the X Prize, you know, and that's sort of sitting on a shelf, like I'm looking, you know, to kind of go back. I have to really go through that data and, you know, quality control everything before I can get it published. But the point is, you know, we kind of came up with this through the iterative design method. So we just tried an algorithm and then, you know, tweaked it such that it worked a little better. And we're kind of just doing this on the fly because it's a very short competition. It's like, you know, you have 6 weeks to build this thing, you know, because you're competing with a whole bunch of other teams.
Can you just give us preliminary results for that? And was that encouraging enough then that's why you applied it to the presidential prediction?
Yeah, I would say it's not the reason I applied it to the presidential prediction, but yes, it was encouraging. It was looking that, so like from what I remember, there were like 50 or 60 different teams, and ours was about 13 or 14. So it was doing better than most. And I think it was doing considerably better than the control. Like, I'm not a machine learning expert. This is Ramses De Leon. If you want to talk to him, he was on this project, but he did most of the machine learning aspects. And he did point out that there was like a small decrease in the loss function when you used random number generator data. So like it made the fit a little bit better. But it's something we gotta go back and look into more. But what I did do in 2020, so this was actually really just shortly after the X Prize in the 2020 election, but I basically ran this prediction by state. And, you know, it's a binary prediction, but it's the same idea. You know, you get into a state of coherence with the random number generator, and that predicts a given state as red or blue. And I did that for the 7 main swing states. So Georgia, North Carolina, not Virginia. No, this is 2020. So that would be Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona. And in 2020, this method, basically what I did was, you know, running the script, I did like a 10-minute meditation session, and I just let it run after that in the background because it takes a couple hours, because sometimes you have to wait for like a z-score of like +2 before it's going to make a prediction or something, and that can take a little bit. But all of the states in 2020, it got right, except for Georgia. So Georgia, of course, went to Biden, but the other 6 states it got right. And if you weigh that by how many electoral votes it got correctly, it did pretty well. It was about 0.05, p equals 0.05. So like 1 in 20 chance of that occurring by chance. So that's what kind of motivated me to just do it again for the 2024 election in the exact same way.
And that's so interesting about Georgia too, because that was the state that was so hotly contested by Trump and his
I know
everything as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Very interesting.
You ready for my
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, are you ready for my 2024 prediction? Okay, so I did this the other day, and I actually did a little bit longer of a meditation session. So I did like 20, 30 minutes, and then I let it run after that continuously. Well, 20, 30 minutes in the beginning of the run. I'm not the best meditator. I don't really think I'm psychic. It's more just I'm doing this experiment just, you know, because it's fun. But here's what we got. Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada, Trump, and then Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Harris. So this gets interesting because, you know, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin going blue, North Carolina, Georgia going red. That's kind of what a lot of the polls were saying. I'm not sure about Nevada and Arizona like Nevada going red while Arizona goes blue. And so I don't know, Michelle, do you have the image I sent you?
Yeah, I was just asking to pull it up. Did you get the map
cool.
from Kayla? No? Okay,
So anyway,
yeah,
so that's what we, so that's the current prediction. Now let me look at the results as they come in. This is the fun part, right? So right now, Pennsylvania's shifted
And
Trump with 51%
can you
reporting.
just summarize that one more? Can you summarize that one more time? Can you summarize the prediction one more time?
Sure. So each state, we would predict red or blue. So there were 7 of them: Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada.
okay.
So basically, the random number generator would run, and there's like a list of these 7 states that it's going to go through. So like first up is Georgia, right? So then once it reaches a z-score of 2 or greater in the random number generator, that's when it flips the coin basically and says, okay, is it going to be heads or tails, right? Trump or Harris? And then, okay, it gets that, it continues. And then after, when it gets another z-score of 2, then it's going to go to North Carolina and make that prediction. So it does this in a serial manner. Does that sort of clear that up? Happy to answer any other questions.
So it makes the prediction because you've got like heads with one candidate, tails with the other.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's more or less that part of the algorithm is more arbitrary, but the selection of like when you do that coin flip is not.
But I don't really understand. I understand like at that moment it's saying, so this is really about retrocausal effect, right? Because it's like, it's saying whatever's happening is going to be correct because it's got a bigger, more coherent reaction. And so it doesn't matter what it is, the theory is like it wouldn't have that if it wasn't correct. So that's how we know it's correct, or at least the theory of it. Is that right?
Yeah, I think everything you said after the retrocausal made sense. I'm not really sure why that would be retrocausal, but.
Well, I mean, you're making the prediction after because aren't you waiting until there's like, it's showing the z-score, it's showing something is standing out, and then you go and toss the coin. You're not tossing the coin before, so it's reacting before you toss the coin. Is that correct? It reacts, and that tells you, oh, it's time to toss the coin and get my prediction. And is that correct?
Yes.
Because
I think you're
manually tossing the coin.
No,
right?
no, that's the random number generator.
So what is the timing between when it hits the z-score and when it tosses the coin?
It's parallel. So it's more or less, I mean, there's like maybe a microsecond difference, but it's running 2 simultaneous bit streams in parallel. And then you have the stream that's looking for coherence, the main one. And then you have the underlying stream, which is trying to make the prediction. So they're running in parallel, and you can think of it as it's virtually simultaneous.
Okay, so
we just popped the map up, just so you know.
What's that?
We just popped the map up.
Nice.
Better late than never.
And did you say you only did this with 7 states, or you did it with all the states?
Just the 7 swing states. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of focus on those because that's what worked well in 2020. So I just did it the same way.
And so can you now, you'll tell us once we have the graphic, what your actual prediction was?
Yeah, well, that's what I was just walking through. The actual prediction was Georgia, North Carolina, Trump, Nevada, Trump, and then Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Harris. That was the prediction as it came out. And I'm a little skeptical that Arizona would go blue, but Nevada red. That didn't make a whole lot of sense, but we'll see what pans out.
Okay, so we just added, I'm sorry, we just added a graphic of the current, what's happening in real time now, matched up with Danny's map, so that we can kind of compare the two. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, I think we can see it.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're working hard behind the scenes.
Yeah, one other thing is that, this ultimately predicts a Harris win, my prediction, assuming the red and blue states stay where they are. I did have somebody else run this test who is, I would say I'm biased towards Harris by a little bit. The person who's running this test is really just not biased either way. So we'll see. Actually, I do have her results, and they were slightly different. I think it was, yeah, let me just see what that was. Yeah, she had everything the same except Michigan going to Trump, which would mean Trump wins the presidency. So this is something I kind of have to think about is, is it that I, just want a certain candidate and that's influencing, the result I get. So yeah, this will be interesting. We have 2 parallel experiments running.
Yeah, and you saying that.
Well, I'm not seeing this on the screen, or I don't understand could you explain what we're looking at? Because right now when I look at our channel, I see 2 maps. Are those maps from what she put up, or are they something else?
The one on the left is mine, and then the one on the right is real time.
So which color? Because some people might have trouble with left and right on the screen. What is the background color? Is it white, or is it
white? White would be the one that I have, and then the black one is the current results.
Okay. And so the 2 states that you would say your prediction goes against what would be speculated to be the case.
Well,
you'll say again, Arizona, and one was Nevada.
Well, it just looked, normally Arizona votes more conservative than Nevada. So I would be skeptical that if Nevada went red, that Arizona would be blue. So that was just the one thing that looked a little odd. But I think, let's see here. Yeah, the other states were pretty close to what polling indicated, although it's, Pennsylvania is like razor thin. So I think, we just, other than we can't really say like what's expected, that's kind of the point of these 7 swing states is that we don't know what's going to happen there.
Yes. So this is really cool. Ingo Swan had talked about, he had a project that I think spanned about 10 years called the Prophecy Project. And he set forth criteria for which you could really have confidence in a prediction. And so he was saying, your prediction, even though you could be totally being psychic and being right about it, to really have validity, you would want something like a swing state, or, to make a prediction against the odds of what was going to turn out. So it is really cool that you chose these 7 states, and that you are in particular getting like a difference than what people would logically expect. That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. We'll
Yeah,
see
and
how it pans out.
now, looking at the map too, that is coming from I guess, Michelle, it's the current prediction on what channel is it? Or was
It's
that,
not a
where's the map
prediction.
coming?
Yeah, where's that map coming
Current, it's
from?
current.
Where? Google.
It's So do we know for sure that map is it the actual results? Like, we know that for sure
Yeah,
right
that
now?
looks good. I'm comparing that with Google. It looks like you got that.
Okay. Okay, great. And does anyone have any questions for our guest? Anything coming through the chat? And let's just take a look again here. Anything that stands out about this map? It's going to be really exciting to see if this really, how your predictions here, or the machine's predictions, turn out.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you. I think, Michelle, what is on the agenda next?
Oh, well, we didn't finish, we have another clip to show, and I guess discussion about how we came to, our predictions.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll say thank you so much for joining us, and we will
Yeah, of
definitely
course.
keep an eye. We're probably not going to go that much longer tonight, maybe like another 15 minutes or so, but we will just be waiting here. Just now, this is so much more exciting now that we have your prediction and these other
Because
predictions.
it's state by state.
Watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be great to have you back, for our, maybe even our next episode, we can have you back for a little bit and just, follow up on how things went and
Sure.
everything. Would you be open to that? Okay,
Absolutely.
great. Then,
Yeah.
Thank you, Danny.
yeah.
Thank you so
All right.
much. I
Thank
know it's
you.
last minute, so thanks.
No problem. All
And
right.
we're making you an honorary side chick.
Oh, I'm so grateful. Thank you. All right.
Thanks.
I will see you guys soon. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Okay. How
Wow.
fun. Like, that was cool. The one thing I like that Danny said that was interesting is she was talking about wondering if her biases were coming in or somehow involved in her outcomes.
Yeah, and I liked how she said her friend had less biases than she did. I actually wanted to ask a little bit more about her friend, like, does her friend live in another country? That when we were doing our predictions, we had Carl, who's in the UK, and not that people actually in other countries sometimes do have very strong opinions about US elections, but a lot of times they're not going to be as dialed into all the news and everything. But I do have to say, when I went to Australia recently, because that's where my son and daughter-in-law and grandbabies live, I spent a lot of time with a lot of different Australians, and they seem to be more interested in US politics than they were in their own politics, at least the ones that I was meeting. I was quite surprised. They were, very up on our politics. They also seem to be very interested in all the different conspiracy theories and things like that. So I thought that was
that's fun.
that was interesting as well. So yeah, but I think it is great to have that was just brilliant that she did have somebody else also running this, just to make sure it wasn't just an effect of herself. It seems like she really covered her bases with her protocols.
I think like with the one session that we're about to pull up, is very interesting because I don't think in the clip I say it, but I'll say it now. I felt like the sessions that we were looking at were mirroring what's actually happening in the world, that the race has been so close on both sides. And it seemed like the sessions were too, to the point that we're going to pull up this clip where there was a sketch where somebody drew a sketch and the head, like we didn't even notice it right off the bat. I think we had passed it a couple times. And then finally at one point I said, wait, Debbie, go back to the sketch, because there was something that caught my eye, like on the third or fourth time of scrolling back and forth. And Carl said, yeah, it looks like the head looks like Trump and the body looks like Harris. So let's bring on that clip and then we can see if everybody agrees with that. It would be interesting to hear some feedback about it.
Do you remember we had an incredible sketch drawn by Russ Evans for the election with Trump and Clinton, or no, it was the one with, sorry, it was the one with Obama and Romney, and totally like it was a combination of their two faces within the same head. I wish we could.
Yeah.
That was really super cool.
Okay, let's bring on the clip. Oh,
we'll say more after.
Yeah,
I want to say a bit more, but we'll wait. Go ahead.
So this was the one where or Savannah had man, dark hair in charge, no facial hair, short hair, with a desk of people working towards military decisions. Rudy, that sometimes means like ruddy complexion. Ruddy. Although he doesn't have dark hair. So if he was wrong about it being a man, I mean, he has man correct, but the other things could apply to Kamala.
And honestly, that sketch kind of looks like a man and a woman at the same time.
I was just going to say the very same thing. It's got Trump's head and a woman's body.
It does.
And she wears these like pantsuits, and they're like, and a lot of times they're all one color. Like, I don't know why does she do that? Like, her suits are nice, but she doesn't wear like a contrasting shirt under her suit jacket. And so it looks really bland. I'm like, why not just wear like, even if it was a slightly different color? Yeah, look at this.
I think the viewers are viewing something incredibly close, and that's why it's sort of 50-50 with the sketch and other things. And do you know what else? Just for a point of saying, I think there's 2 or 3 viewers now mentioned trapped, suffocating. I think that is running for the White House, and the end of the tunnel is the actual election result. Just a personal thing.
Oh, like symbolically.
so yeah, so that was interesting that the face looked like Trump and the body looked like Harris. It was kind of like, merged into one. So, I mean, did anybody else see that? Did it look like that to you?
Yeah, I'm curious if anyone else thought. I thought it did a little bit. I mean, it wasn't as strong as like Russ is with what we were talking about before, where Romney's and Obama's faces were totally combined, but it did seem a little bit. And, it is, we don't really want that to happen, right? Because even though that's kind of cool that they're combining both, like to me, that's saying there's a breakdown in the system, right? Because they're supposed to be getting a clear description of who they're going to get feedback for, or who is going to actually just be the candidate. So it's like, are they viewing the target or are they viewing the feedback? But one or the other or both, but we don't want them to be combining the two options. So I look at that as really like a breakdown in the system if that's going to be when that happens. It's not useful, right? Even though it's cool, but it's not useful. And I know some people don't care that it's not useful. They're just like, wow, this person's being, really psychic here. But the other thing is, I don't really remember with that transcript, I don't have it pulled up. Like, were we very convinced that they were describing Kamala, or was it just like more male or female? Do you
I think
remember?
there were some, this may have been the session where we saw the bricks. There were like the structure. I think it talked a lot about, and we didn't talk about this yet, but there were a lot of the sessions that were talking about a subject being in a tunnel and suffocating or trapped or something like that. Kind of came up in a lot of the sessions, and this was one of them.
Okay, yeah. Why don't we talk about that for a minute? And then after that, I think we should look in the chat because I did ask, I don't know if Julie is here, but I know she oftentimes has really spot on predictions. So I asked if I think she was here earlier, if she could put her predictions in the chat. And I would love if anyone else had predictions, not based on logic, but based on intuition, it doesn't have to be remote viewing, but just if you got something intuitively, if you could share it, that would be great. So yeah, we were seeing themes in these sessions and we weren't sure, like, is this just about the candidate, or because my own original tasking again was I wanted viewers to describe the next president at the time and at the place of the inaugural election. And even though Michelle didn't write that down, or that wasn't really her intention for her students, we did go back and forth and trying to figure out if we wanted to include that location and time element. So I'm just wondering, is there something that's happening at the time of the inauguration? Because this was very strange. We had like at least 5 sessions, like, or if not more, talk about that somebody is in like a tunnel, they're underground, they're feeling suffocated, they're feeling very alone, they're having like a little trouble breathing. Like it didn't sound like they were like in a horrible state. It wasn't like they were being tortured, but it did sound like it was very uncomfortable. They were alone, they were claustrophobic in a small space, couldn't breathe, alone. And there were at least 5 people who had that in their sessions. And then when I assigned this to my class, where I think there may be a couple of people here, and if anyone is here from that, they could write in the chat too. But there was a lot of water in all of these too, like water and very cold. And I looked it up later, and it does turn out that in Washington, D.C., it can be very snowy, cold in Washington, D.C., but I don't typically think of like right there where the inaugural address would be as, having a lot of water. But that we do know that there's tunnels underground there. And so is something happening where the people get stuck in the tunnels. And, one theory is maybe they're in the tunnel, like walking through, because that's where they might go to get from one building to the next. And perhaps something happens that makes it so they have to stay in the tunnel longer than they planned, like some safety issue or something like that. But that's just one theory. It wasn't like they were, none of the viewers were describing like a war scene or anything like that above ground. It was all like what was happening to this person in this claustrophobic place where it was very small. And yeah, it's something's up, because there were so many viewers who had that same type of discussion.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you remember any other themes that emerged?
Angels and aliens.
Oh
we
my
have a
gosh.
lot of angels and aliens.
Do we have a clip on that, or did you? I haven't been able to hear the clips.
No, we kind of sent out a short of a little bit about it. So I think what I'd like you to tell everybody about, before we even started the judging, you were telling Carl and myself about, was it a dream or a meditation where you saw an angel? Yeah, go ahead and talk about what you saw.
Yeah, well, I knew that we were going to be meeting to go over the viewer sessions. And so we had talked about that we ourselves would try to tune in and tonight and see what was going to be happening. And so I decided I would tune into each candidate. And so I started off with Harris, and I got this very, very vivid image of this angel that was floating above her, and it was like, and kind of like a classic looking angel, big angel wings, wearing a gown, and she was holding a trumpet, which I don't typically like. If I was going to draw an angel, I wouldn't like draw it with the trumpet, but this image had a trumpet in it, and it was floating above her head, and it was really massive, and it came in so clear and vivid. And when I saw that, I didn't know if it was saying like, is it symbolizing Harris as an angel? Like, I don't think of her, I think of her as a savvy prosecutor, not as an angel. Or, I just don't think of her in those terms, but there was definitely a huge angel hanging over her head. So, and then when I looked at Trump, I woke up, I didn't really have time to look at him, but I do want to say, and then we could go back to this, that today I was waking up this morning, and the very first thing that I saw when I woke up was an image of Trump. And it was like I saw half his body like disintegrate. Like it was half his body stayed solid, and then half his body just totally disintegrated. And that was the vision. So I took that to mean, well, maybe he's not going to win then. But I was like, well, why is only half of his body going like that? It wasn't the whole body. It was like, if I was looking at it, it would have been, well, the picture's facing me. So like, I don't know if that was, I guess on the left side, it just floated away, like just evaporated basically. Like if you took a bunch of pieces and separated. So yeah, so getting back to that angel, that was the other theme, is that another viewer actually said angel as well, or around a woman and angelic. And then there was a combination of, it sounded like angels or creatures that were angel-like. And then there were several aliens as well. Do you want to talk about that, Michelle?
Yeah, well, first John just wrote in the chat, which I love this, angels herald good news. So that's his take on the angel, which is interesting. Yeah, we had a couple sessions that were referencing aliens, and it had, it's basically a whole narrative and AOL. So they were kind of building a story around a concept. And so they had an image of a UFO flying over, another one, I can't remember, but they were referencing aliens and foreign things like, I wanted to talk, I know this isn't related, but I wanted to also talk about the, what was it? I wanted to say porcupine, but with Trump, or the one that he was,
The beaver.
the beaver, the book and the beaver, which was interesting as well. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah, because so let's go on to that. So
I'm going all over the place because I'm.
So that was the other thing. There really wasn't a theme of beavers. It was only one, but they said something like a book about a beaver. And that's when we looked it up. And I think you showed that in the clip.
I think, yeah.
And I was, it's one of those, maybe it's what they call confirmation bias, but everywhere I've been looking, I'm seeing books about beavers. Like I was in the Eugene, Oregon airport yesterday, the bookstore, and they had a book on a beaver, and I was like, oh, is it about Trump? But no, it wasn't the book on Trump, but that was pretty funny that someone did actually write a book about Trump the beaver.
Trump the beaver.
Well, how about, can you see in the chat, Michelle? I'm having trouble seeing what people are writing, but did Julie write her predictions, or did anybody else?
No.
Has anyone had any predictions here that we can talk about?
I hope we didn't put everyone to sleep.
No,
I'm not seeing anything here, but it would be fun if anyone just wants to write a last minute guess. Like just a guess who you think. It would be fun.
Yeah, well, let's do that. Like, just
we're not going to judge. I promise. We're not judgy.
Yeah, put a guess, and also put, is that who you want, or is that, or no, we don't want to ask you that in public because someone might want to come and shoot you later. So cancel that. If you want to give us a private message, later you can, but just tell us your prediction. Maybe, just
Andrew, thank you, Lucas. The problem is good news for whom? LOL. Lucas wrote, I'm still wide awake. Yay, Lucas. And then Andrew said, my session from class had the inauguration as stormy, wet, windy environment. Adam wrote Jimmy Carter was his prediction. And we have Carl, who's still awake, which he's listening from the UK, so it's 4:00 in the morning. Let's see. Andrew also wrote a long-legged, tall thing or structure moving across the screen.
That's right.
Yeah. What is that thing?
Yeah, that was really interesting. We weren't sure what that was, but we'll find out.
We have a couple more. AJ, I tried doing a prediction back in May. I saw Biden, but he was waving and he stepped down. This was before Biden stepped down. But when I looked in May of the next year, I saw Trump, ? I don't have a bias. Ann L, it's going to be Bush versus Gore 2.0, but Trump comes out on top through by fair or foul means. MASH 3D, I wanted Peanut, the squirrel, for president. Peanut the squirrel, I love it.
Yeah.
Lucas wants to know if we have a final prediction.
A final prediction. Every that we've heard today. Didn't ask Danny, because I don't think that she actually said who she thought the final winner was based on the collection of states. Did she tell us that? And maybe she's here and she could answer that in the chat.
I think she said she was kind of partial to Harris, but I don't think she officially told us. I think that we're just looking at the states and not the final outcome. That was Lucas said she predicted Harris.
She did predict Harris. So those states added up to Harris, basically.
Yeah, that's what she's saying. Yeah.
That,
And John
okay.
said out of the remote
right.
viewing sessions, we all predicted Harris, is what he's saying. The other guy did it again, and Trump won Michigan.
Okay. Is that John Knowles?
No.
By any chance, or what John?
Jen?
Okay. I was wondering. Oh, okay. I was wondering if Marty's group, Marty Rosenblatt, if he had the group, because they just had their Applied Precognition Project conference, and I know in past conferences we did predictions. In fact, I was part of that conference for 4 years ago, and yeah, the prediction was not for the winning candidate; it was for the other candidate. So, or that might have been 8 years ago. But anyway, I was wondering if they did a prediction. Is anyone here who's tied into their group who knows? I was also hoping to hear from Daz Smith. I didn't have a chance to ask him because, you know, their future forecasting group, I am sure has, I haven't been keeping an eye on social media lately, but I would imagine that they had to have had some predictions. In fact, we might even just take a look. See, future forecasting. And for anyone who hasn't heard of, I was just going to say, for anyone who hasn't heard of their future forecasting group, they do a lot of really cool predictions and projects. And that's a great website group to check out, future forecasting, remote viewing. I'm just taking a look to see if they
So in
did have a
addition to
prediction
the
as well.
sessions that I sent out to my students, I did a little side experiment. I don't think it really went anywhere, and John's referring to it. I sent them a little worksheet with 2 photos, and I asked them just to circle one. I mean, there was nothing, just circle one. So one was a picture, and they were black and white. So one was a picture of roses, and the other one was a picture of lilies. The roses represent Harris, and the lilies represent Trump. So, and it was interesting because I think it was almost every session, I don't remember off the top of my head, but the majority of them went the opposite with the photos. So I guess the next question is to ask the viewer, like, who did you actually vote for? Because that might match with these pictures, like who they actually voted for versus there's what they said in their session. I'm not really sure. We have to kind of take more of a look at that.
Yeah, I did just look at it, and I do see there's a YouTube video, Dick Algier. He said what you really need to know about this election, and it looks like it was posted 5 days ago. So I can't listen to it right now to really see what his final prediction was as far as like which candidate. It looks like he's talking about different personalities, and he has an X mark on political ideas and policy, and instead a circle around personalities. So that's going to be interesting to see. I'll be curious to watch that one for sure. Michelle, do you think it's perhaps time to wrap up? Because I have this hourglass here and it looks like it's just about empty. So I think that's a sign that it is time for our live stream to end here. Maybe we could just take a look. Can we look at where the TV right now and just see where we're at? You want to do that and just see if there's any, because right now, a lot of the where I'm here on the West Coast, it's almost 8 o'clock. So just about every polling place should be closed. Of course, some of them are going to take still some hours to come through.
I think so Lucas is saying, wait, you can't wrap up without a final prediction. I think based on the remote viewing and setting aside the angels and aliens, I think that our very small pointed to Harris. But I don't, like, we also measured our confidence with that based on the sessions. They weren't very high with Harris either, but I think that if we have to pick one, we would say, according to the sessions, it would be Harris. Do you agree, Deb?
Yeah, I would agree. Also, one of my viewers, Susan, in my class, when I asked the tasking was to look at the inauguration, she did see somebody that looked like it was like a person with a mask, like they had a huge smile on their face, but they were taking off the mask, so they looked like they're always smiling or smiling then, but underneath, like they were stressed and other things like that. And her and I really thought that she was referring to Harris. So that gave me more confidence in it too. But, I have to say, like, I would have loved to have seen in all the viewer sessions like a lot more very strong defining characteristics of each candidate. And besides for like one or two, there just weren't those where I was just like, oh my God, I'm blown away. Like, this so much is describing them or is even, giving a name or something like that. I just did not, I wasn't like blown away to the point where I would have that great amount of confidence. And that's why when we were judging, Michelle, you and myself and Carl, we did our confidence ratings for each one, and none of them, a couple of them got up to like, 80% confident. Of course, this is very subjective, our confidence ratings, but I would say Harris. But when I start to look behind my shoulder here, I'm seeing a lot of red. I don't know now. I wasn't nervous before, but now I'm just getting nervous. So yeah, we'll see. But let's say our overall prediction, unless anyone who's still in our chat thinks we should come up with a different one. Based on what we talked about, not based on who you prefer, I would say our prediction is Harris.
Oh, we're getting accused of We're getting accused of cheating.
We're cheating, we're biased. Okay, well,
my lips are sealed.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
We're not gonna argue with that. We're just gonna say we could be biased. That's a distinct possibility. And of course, the whole project, like we did run these blind, but we and I think we did a pretty decent job of being objective when we were doing our judging. Michelle, if this was really a formal experiment that we were going to write up, which we're not, because we didn't have a large enough data set or effect size or anything like that. But if we were going to do this as a formal experiment that we wanted to publish in a journal, is there anything we would have done different than what we did already, besides have more viewers?
I think, yeah, there is actually. I would say that we should have been a little bit more confident or, with our tasking. I don't like that it was a little wonky. I think we should have been coordinated with that. And I also think you did your sessions at a different time with a different tasking than I did. So I think having us kind of work together on it would have maybe helped. And of course, we would love to have more viewers. And I know that we have a lot of projects coming up in the future and would love to get more viewers. I mean, what's the point of learning remote viewing if you can't use remote viewing? So we have a ton of projects that are coming up, and we would love all of you to be participating in it. In terms of our judging, I think I love the fact that we had Carl there because it kind of kept us clean. And, I know Carl would have whipped us into shape if we started fighting.
I don't know, things got a little dirty there for a while with the balls there, but
hey, we were just reading. We were just reading.
We'll say honest. He kept us honest. And yeah, I would have wanted to see like our judging. I don't think we even used like a judging scale. We talked about things. We gave our confidence ratings, but
It was
yeah,
informal. It was definitely informal.
Yeah, we could have gone much more with a rating scale and maybe judging everything as correct, incorrect, unknown, and being really more detailed with it. We could have definitely done that. And we would have done that if it was for a formal experiment. But, I think we did, we did a lot more than the average person would, just making a prediction.
And it was fun. And it was fun. And it was fun to talk about. I think we learn a lot. And, every time we do these things, we learn so much from them and we can do better. I also want to say that at the end of the year, if you guys like prediction stuff, I always have like at the end of the year, a prediction party on Zoom. And so we have a lot of fun. Making predictions for, well, this we'll do for 2025. So if you're interested, let me know and then I'll add you to the email list. And I think we'll have a blast doing that.
Yeah, that'll be great. And we should definitely come back after the inauguration. Like I'll take the sessions that my students did and do more of a thematic analysis, and then we could take a look at those more carefully and look at what happened during the inauguration. Also, we could talk what happened at your prediction party. And then, yeah, and I'll just give a plug right now, Michelle, both of us teach remote viewing in kind of different ways, different styles, but they're both usually fun classes. I might be more of a taskmaster. You might be a little more fun, but hard to say.
I think it's the other way around. It's definitely the other way around.
Well, so we're a little different, but we have remote viewing classes coming up too, if that's something that would interest you. And also check out IRVA. IRVA has an upcoming conference once a year. If you're watching this as a recording, we actually have a conference at the International Remote Viewing Association in just 5 days online. So check that out too, irva.org. And yeah. When are we going to do our next episode? Do we have any idea yet?
Yeah, well, first I wanted to answer on the chat. Somebody's asking about our different styles. We're actually going to have an episode where we talk about both of our styles so that people can have a better idea of different things that we do and what our philosophy is in remote viewing. And it would be a really great conversation to have with everyone. And Jody mentioned the Super Bowl. Yeah, all that stuff. Please let us know, and we are on board with doing all this stuff because I think it's really important to be building this community, and it's a lot of fun too. I mean, obviously we can use remote viewing for serious things, but there's lighthearted things that we can just have fun with, and I think it's really important for to have fun and yay. So, did you ask me a question? Because I got on a tangent there.
You know what? I telepathically was just asking you a question. Can you guess what that question was? I didn't want to ask it out loud.
Oh, should I repeat it out loud?
Yeah, what was I just projecting to you in my mind? I did not say it out loud though. It was about something you just said though, or something you just said.
I would say that it has something to do with our philosophies and remote viewing.
No, I was going to ask when is the Super Bowl, but then I knew that would give it away that I am not usually very up on my sports. But I just looked it up and actually, no, I was looking up, I just saw 2024. Does anyone know when the Super Bowl is in 2025? I think
it's usually in
totally
February. Usually in February, I think. So.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
great. So yeah,
also, A little side note is, I just want everyone to send prayers to Deborah's family. She has somebody that's in the hospital, and they can use lots of prayers. And so let's just kind of have her in your thoughts, and her family and her mom, and family and all that stuff before you go to sleep.
I appreciate that. It's my stepdad, my mom's husband, and Dale. He's a great guy, and I don't think he's going to make it. It's not looking like it. But I was nervous about doing the show tonight because I wasn't in the best mood. But I have to say that this is really a great lesson for me that I like sitting there feeling sad wasn't gonna, and not doing anything wasn't gonna do any good, right? Like coming here, being with all of you, I feel like a million times better. And so I really appreciate that. And it's kind of like, oh, should we laugh or have fun when something miserable is going on? Well, I would say yes, because I feel so much better. And now I'll be in a better space to be supportive of the rest of my family. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Amen to that. You know how I feel about, I laugh at everything. So that's good.
And
But okay.
can we say thank you to our production team? Because
Yes.
no way we would have done this without them. Can
Yes.
we say their names, or do we?
We are going to say, so it's Adam Freed, Rachel Freed, she's monitoring the chat, Kayla Bolgatz, she's been doing all the graphics, and Cindy Freed was a seat warmer, so that was really great. And I think each time we do this, it'll get better and better and better. So thank you guys so much.
Did you acknowledge Adam? I didn't hear you say Adam's name.
I said it first. Adam Freed.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, we couldn't do this without you.
Okay, so we will keep looking for our messages, and we'll let you know when the next show is. And yeah, we'll see everyone soon. And good luck with the election. Let's just hold tight, because I'm not sure how it's going to go. So let's just hold each other. Hug.
Hang in there. Michelle, do you want to predict when our next show is going to be? Or would that be too tough for us?
No. No, there's a lot going on, honey. Sugar muffin, sweetie pie.
All right, honey buns. We'll leave that one alone. All right, till next time, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye. All right.